Capcom had laid the foundations for a successful franchise with Onimusha releasing in 2001 and Onimusha 2 releasing in 2002. These two horror adventure games launched a new series, but Capcom wanted more. Trying to reach new audiences, Capcom released Onimusha Tactics, a tactical role-playing game on the Game Boy Advance, as well as a fighting game on the PS2 titled Onimusha Blade Warriors. With the first two games receiving high praise and Onimusha Tactics giving a surprisingly good effort, would Blade Warriors follow suit, or would it be the game that nobody asked for? Hey, what's up gamers? You have TigerChainsaw. I am continuing my retrospective and my reviews of the Onimusha series. So far I've done Onimusha 1, 2, and Onimusha Tactics. Now Onimusha 1 and 2 were both from my childhood. I've got a lot of great memories with them. But Onimusha Tactics, which was my last video, that was a big left turn for Capcom in the Onimusha franchise. It went from the PS2 to the Game Boy Advance, and it entered a tactical role-playing realm. It was an odd choice, but strangely enough, it worked. Now, Capcom was not done doing weird things with the Onimusha franchise. In fact, it would go back to the PS2 and release Onimusha Blade Warriors. Now, this is not an action horror adventure. It is a fighting game, but it's a strange one. It's not so much one-on-one fighting, but think of a brawl. Think of a little bit of Super Smash Brothers. But is this any good? We're gonna find that out today. Now, if you are a first-time viewer, or if you just haven't yet, make sure you hit that sub button, as I have plenty of video game reviews that I've done already on my channel, ranging from retro video games to more current gen video games, and of course, I'm reviewing the entire Onimusha series, so you can catch up on all of those reviews, as well as look forward to Onimusha 3 and Onimusha Dawn and Dreams that's coming right up. So let's jump into Onimusha Blade Warriors and figure out what the hell was Capcom thinking. Capcom was going all in with the Onimusha franchise after the success of Onimusha in 2001 and Onimusha 2 in 2002. Branching away from the horror-esque adventures, Capcom settled on creating two very different Onimusha games in Onimusha Tactics, a tactical strategy game for the Game Boy Advance in 2003, and a fighting game that featured many of the popular characters from the franchise with Onimusha Blade Warriors. With the promise of finding out who is the most powerful fighter in one-on-one situations, Onimusha Blade Warriors was released for the PlayStation 2 in 2004. Having already launched a tactical spin-off on the Game Boy Advance with Onimusha Tactics, would Blade Warriors rise to the fight, or would the blade of the swords become dull? Let's dive into this Onimusha Blade Warriors review, starting with the plot, but be warned, spoilers are ahead. The storytelling in Onimusha has always been a strong point, in my humble opinion. It's typically simple, led by strong character personalities. The characters are easy to follow and they're likable. Even the villains like Gogen Dantis are well crafted and fun to interact with. Fighting games typically are built on strong gameplay instead of plots, but if you want to keep me interested, I need some type of overarching plot. Onimusha Blade Warriors does not have that. At least, it's not a strong element in the game. taking place between the events of Onimusha 2 and Onimusha 3, which had yet to be released at the time. It's a rehashing of having to defeat Nobunaga in his quest for domination, which really seems to be the plot in every Onimusha game. Now, one of the cool things about Onimusha Blade Warriors is that you can choose to play as either the good guys or the bad guys. The roster is split on warriors who are trying to stop Nobunaga's evil reign against demons and monsters who are fighting for Nobunaga. Whichever side you decide to fight on, it's not very rewarding in terms of an ending. You get a small cutscene every now and then with the characters interacting, but it's quick and simple. The endings are even more disappointing. It's nothing but a scrolling text being read out loud stating whether the demons were wiped out or if Nobunaga had succeeded in overtaking the land. Pretty boring either way. Now, there is quite a large roster of fighters to choose from, and this part of Onimusha Blade Warriors I was at least impressed with. The cutscenes do give you little nuggets of information that probably aren't well known. I will say that there are some pretty cool callbacks to characters in the Onimusha franchise, like Kojiro Maeda, who played a very tiny role in the original Onimusha as he was just about a 13-year-old kid. But he's been brought back, and he's now a warrior. In the first one, like I said, he was just a kid, but with 13 years passing since the first, he's grown into a respectable warrior. These small details are pretty cool, and it's fun to see the characters evolve. Other than that, the plot is pretty thin in Onimusha Blade Warriors. Now, fans of the series, there is one huge roster inclusion that you will definitely find interesting. I know I at least did. Musashi Miyamoto, who is actually a real person that lived in the 15 and 1600s, is in Onimusha Blade Warriors. But that's not the big deal. The big deal is that he is actually the star of the upcoming Onimusha game, Way of the Sword. So Onimusha fans, you can play as him right now in Onimusha Blade Warriors once you unlock him. Now that is pretty cool. The Onimusha main games are famous for their mind-blowing opening cinematic experiences. These are phenomenal. But did Onimusha Blade Warriors have an opening video on the scale as the others? No, it did not. I was quite bummed. As a fighting game, I will say that I may have enjoyed Onimusha Blade Warriors more if I was any good at fighting games. Fighting games are not the bread and butter of my skill set. I can make do, but I struggle to play on advanced and sometimes even normal settings without hours of practice, so just keep that in mind as I discuss the gameplay. Now, one thing the Onimusha Blade Warriors offered was a tutorial. Usually I skip these, but as a fighting game, I thought it'd be pretty fun. And actually, it was pretty helpful in learning all the different attack combos and special attacks that were offered. There aren't special combo attacks like, say in Tekken, where if you hold circle and X, the fighters will grab each other and do something cool. Instead, you collect soul orbs during the fight to unleash magic attacks that do pretty big damage. Almost all fighters are equipped with the Oni amulet that allows your fighter to suck up the soul orbs that come out of the defeated enemies. Each time you defeat an enemy, souls will come out of their corpses and you can suck them up to recover your health and magic and gain experience. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's discuss how the environments are set up. Yes, Onimusha Blade Warriors is a fighting game, but it's not really a 1v1 fighter. The stages you play on are all leveled, meaning there are typically 3 different lines to play on. You can jump up or down to reach higher or lower levels and fight the enemies on these platforms. Enemies will follow you and try and take you down, but there's also ranged enemies that carry rifles or bows who try and stay away from you and attack from long distance. You'll have to find a good balance of jumping up and down throughout the stage to take out all of the enemies. You also need to double tap the directional button, which is easier said than done. That was something that I actually struggled with. As mentioned, you will be fighting multiple enemies at once. Think of it almost as a brawl, as you'll have enemies attacking you from the left, the right, the top, and the bottom. The stages that you fight in will have different objectives, like killing all the enemies, killing a certain amount in a specific time, absorbing a number of soul orbs in a specific time, or defeating a main character within the stage. It's not just about defeating one character at a time and then moving on to a different stage. Each playthrough will consist of 10 stages, each with unique objectives, but repeated for each character. I was not very impressed with the stages, however. They change between dull and average. There's a certain amount of interactions within the environments, like steam pipes and signs being cut in half, but for the most part, you need to worry mostly about the enemies on screen. These battles last anywhere from 30 seconds to 4 minutes, depending on the objective. One thing that I didn't care for was the health system. Your health does not reset between stages. If you have low health at the end of the fight, you'll start with low health on the next stage. It's up to you to make sure that you are sucking up all of the health orbs after killing the enemies, or that you do have access to an inventory where you can choose healing items. Speaking of items, they are littered everywhere in the stages. Treasure chests will pop up constantly, and both you and the enemies will have access to them. It reminded me a little bit of Super Smash Bros., where you'd have these ridiculous weapons or items to use. The items that you find in Onimusha Blade Warriors are not as fantastical as they are in Super Smash Bros., but they can range from ninja stars, magic spells, and even a couple guns. I didn't actively seek out these chests, but if I was by one and it popped up, I would open it up to see what it had. As you progress with each character, you'll be able to funnel the experience that you earn with them and upgrade weapons, armor, and overall character value. Some of the more basic fighters, like the grunts and the zombies, will even evolve or change into stronger versions of themselves. As far as the actual fighting itself, it just didn't come across as fun. It didn't hook me, even though the game set itself up to succeed. I think the lack of storytelling and plot hurts it a little bit because the gameplay isn't strong enough to keep me coming back. Onimusha is one of my favorite series, and if someone like myself is struggling to enjoy the game, that says something. The combination of different level platforms in the stages, mixed with the weird items and the quirky objectives, just didn't mesh as well as Capcom had hoped. They were trying to start an Onimusha fever when the franchise barely had a cold. It's clear to me that there was just too much Onimusha on the market at the time of this release. It already had 2 main games in the series with a spin-off tactical game, and with Onimusha Blade Warriors being released just weeks before another installment in the main series was released with Onimusha 3, the gameplay had to be stellar to spark an investment in Onimusha Blade Warriors. The promise of duels between Samanowski and Jubei was simply not enough. The Onimusha market was getting very crowded with all the releases of games within the franchise. Unless you are a die-hard Onimusha fan that loves fighting games, Blade Warriors is one that you don't need to pick up. You aren't missing much despite all that the game throws at you with items, leveling up, and a large roster of characters. Some more plot and some more presentation would have been welcoming, but for those who just want to fight in an area with Onimusha characters, I suppose there's enjoyment. But for me, Onimusha Blade Warriors is the worst game in the series, but it's still an average game. Onimusha Blade Warriors scores a 6.5 out of 10. Alright Onimusha fans, that was my review of Onimusha Blade Warriors on the PS2. What are your thoughts about this game? Do you guys like it? Are there any fighting fans out there that just love both Onimusha as a franchise and fighting games? For me, I'm not very good at fighting games, but even if I was, I don't think this would have hooked me. As I stated, the presentation, the plot, it all just felt bare minimum, and the game mechanics didn't keep me hooked, but it's just my opinion. I would love to hear from you guys, especially those that enjoy this game. Or if you're just learning about this game now, do you want to play it? Leave me a comment below and don't forget to like this video and of course subscribe to my channel as I'm going to be reviewing Onimusha 3 and Onimusha Dawn and Dreams very shortly. And you can catch up on my previous Onimusha reviews. Gamers, thanks for watching and make sure you play a video game today.